there's been all kinds of debate on the internet about which kind of mask pattern to use, whether it should have an insertable place for a filter to go in, or whether it should just be fabric and they would be happy to use that. So I'm kind of adapting and going by what some friends of mine have said who've talked more directly with professionals. I got a call into a doctor, a friend of mine on Facebook, not a call, but a message thing to see, because she was thanking me, but I want to be sure everything's as right as it can be so that these can be useful and not just thrown in the trash after we're all done with it. I will say that most of the ones we're making, even without adding the filters or anything like that, they can be used for patients who are immune compromised. So if you were to I have a particular friend that has COPD and some other problems, she could wear these, people around her could wear these, and they're a little more comfortable and whatever. So, okay, so the modifications are, we've changed our cutting. The front of the fabric, the front of the mask is going to be 6 inches by 45. Use the full width. Oh, my friends are so smart, they came up with this. Use the full width of your fabric by 6 inches. So I've got some cut down here, and I'm gonna use this crazy flame fabric. But I started thinking these little sheep would be so cute, but as I looked at it, if I were to cut across, my sheep would be sideways. And while that really doesn't bother me too much, I have friends that it would make nuts, Lori. And so I decided I would do something that would be, as it's put on the face, my flames are gonna be upright, okay? So, it's still 6 inches for the front. For the back, or the lining piece, you're gonna cut 2 5-inch strips so that they can insert a mask, a mask, yes, or a filter of some type. There's different kinds of filters people are saying they can put in there. Then they can take those out, wash the masks, they're reusable. So the first thing we're gonna do then is, and also we're eliminating the elastic. I've been told that the elastic is not good in an autoclave or sterilizing machine, that it'll break down. Plus it could have latex in it. So we're not gonna do that. So we're also going to cut 2-inch strips. Now, some people said bias. This does not go around a curve at all, so I don't think they have to be biased. This is kind of an experiment, but anyway, so I've cut this for my ties instead of elastic. So the first thing I'm gonna do is take my lining piece, which this is some of my fabric, like what was I thinking when I bought this, because it's kind of ugly. And I'm turning under 1/4 inch, and I haven't measured this and exactly, but I've done 1/4 inch kind of a lot in my life, so I'm pretty good at that. I was questioned one time by one of my children, "Mom, how do you know that's 1/4 inch?" And I challenged that person to measure, and guess what? It was 1/4 inch. So anyway, so I'm turning under 1/4 inch here, and then I'm gonna turn under about 3/4 right there. And just follow that down. That may be closer to 1 inch, but anyway, we've got plenty of play here with this 5-inch piece. So what these are gonna do is overlap on each other as you stitch them onto the back piece. I'm kind of thinking through my process even as I press this. Okay, so there's one. So I'm just going to be doing this, so this will hem the inside piece. And I'm going to go ahead and press my 2 of my strap pieces, strap pieces in half. So this is the full 40 inches width. It also suggested that you pre-wash everything, but then I found out they're going to sterilize it all when it gets to the hospital, so I'm not pre-washing. And most of mine should not shrink much. I use high quality cottons, so they shouldn't shrink up much. Once I get all this pressing done, we'll be able to stitch. Okay. So I'm just using a 2.4 stitch length. They have asked that we use 100% cotton everything. That includes the thread. So I'm just gonna stitch away. You could pin this if you wanted. I'm not gonna. This may be boring as I could tell a story. Some of y'all know my stories. They're not quite appropriate for everybody. So, yes, my nieces and nephews call me the inappropriate aunt. Huh, wonder where that came from. Oops. And then this is what's called assembly line sewing. You just keep going and go, kind of like the Energizer Bunny. Just keep going. For the interlude, but had to do some maintenance. So now I'm just going to pin these right sides together, put the front on the bottom, and these will go like this with the raw edges together. So those are going to overlap like that, see, in the middle, so they can get that filter in there. So you can pin if you would like. I'm not on straight seams much of a pinner, so I'm going to take off here and go to the races. Again, I'm using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. This will be the top and the bottom. And when we get all done with this, don't worry that this isn't the same. We'll lop that off to where it's the same. When I filled my bobbin thread, y'all, I just used a bobbin I had already full of a color that I'm like, why did I make a full bobbin of that color? It's a teal. Oh well. So I'm using it up because I don't know when I would ever use a full bobbin of teal. So now I'm going to do the other side. So did you hear about the lady that was having a house built and she wanted all the colors in her house to be perfect? So she told the builder, she said, okay, let's go in here in the entryway. I want a very sweet cream, like an ivory. Not as yellow as a buttercream, but not as white as snow. So, you know, he wrote down something on his pad. And then they go into the dining room. She says, I want this blue. And he writes blue, and then he goes to the window and he yells, green side up. She's like, what's that all about? So then they go in the kitchen and she says yellow, and he says, green side up, out the window. And she's like, I don't want green in my house. I'm not a fan of green. They go through every room. She tells every color, none of which is green, but in every room he says, green side up. Well, okay, I'll come back to the story in just a minute. So now we're going to press this with this up like this. Press away from the seam. See here, we're going to get, this is 42 divided by 9. We're actually going to get maybe close to, definitely get 9 times 4. We'll get 4 masks. We might be able to get more than that, just depends. Okay, I've pressed it up like that. Now I'm going to press it down like this. Anyway, she tells the guy, I don't want green in my house. Why do you go to the window and yell green side up, green side up? I don't want green. I've had it. If there's any green in this house, I'm going to be upset. Well, he says, oh, ma'am, don't worry about that. He said, I've got a bunch of Alabama students out there laying sod. Isn't that funny? You can insert any school, any profession, anything like that, and make it your own joke. That's probably the only one I can tell. And it still probably offends some people.